Hi guys, and welcome back to My Dank Dog. Just as a quick reminder, I live in Canada. It's been legal here since 2018. This is episode 2 of the Lucky 13 Beans, and in this episode we're going to be doing some mainlining and some cloning. Let's get into it. Big shout out to VivoSun for sponsoring the channel. And if you guys are looking to get a V-Grow, you can save 20% off at vivosun.com and Amazon stores with my promo code MDDVGROW. That's MDDVGROW. Also, guys, you can save 15% off at vivosun.com and Amazon stores with my promo code MyDankDog, and that's site-wide with no minimum purchase. In this episode, we're going to go over the Lucky 13 exotic genetic beans that I cracked a while ago. Now, I decided to mainline both of these ladies. They're currently growing in 3-gallon fabric pots in a mix of cocoa and perlite. I've topped them and I've cloned the tops as well. One of the ladies will be staying inside my Grow Tent Pro kit. The other lady will be going inside the V-Grow as soon as the V-Grow has finished drying out my Skywalker OG harvest. So there's a lot to stay tuned for updates on, one of them being the harvest of Skywalker OG. The other one is the transplant of one of these Lucky 13 ladies into the V-Grow, plus the clone. And I think what I'm going to do is also mainline the clone inside the 16-ounce bud cup that it's currently in. So stay tuned for all of that in coming episodes. But in this episode, I'm going to take you through my process from the beginning to where I am right now. About to go vertical with 16. If that doesn't make sense, hopefully it will at the end of this video. It's been a fun experience. If you've got any experience or advice on mainlining or the grow that you're about to see in this video, please leave it in the comment section below. I do appreciate it. Let's get into it. Before I started this project, I had to do a little bit of research on where to chop and crop my plant. Basically, it's about counting nodes. So once my plant had 5 or 6 nodes and was old enough to take the stress, I basically had to work out where to chop it. Now, if you look at this image, the pink areas are where the nodes are, and the green areas are the spacing between the nodes, or the internodal spacing. So once I had 5 or 6 nodes, I had to locate the 3rd node and then work out which was closest, either the 2nd node or the 4th node. On both my plants, the 2nd node was closest, so I topped it and removed the 4th node upwards, and then I cloned those tops. So my plants, both of them, ended up looking like this, which is the 2nd and 3rd node. And then what we want to do is actually train the branches going out from those nodes. So if we take a look at it from above, you can see what you want to do then is also count the 3rd node and start topping from there. So on the 4 branches going out from those 2 and 3 nodes, I basically counted another 3 nodes and topped the 4th one off, which gave me this kind of cross, and at the end of it like a Y basically. And then once we kind of started to grow those Ys out at the end, I also had to count 3 nodes. So I started to end up with an image kind of like this, where I've got nodes of 3 going into nodes of 3 and chopping the 4th off every time. And as you can see at the end of each one of these capital Y kind of growths there, I've got 2. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 areas where my plant is now going to grow vertical. On the 2 different plants, they grew differently. They've got different textures in the way that they're growing. One is more stretchier than the other one, and the other one is kind of weird and twisty and bendy and not so stretchy. So what I've decided to do is take one to the edge or the rim of the 3-gallon fabric pot and let it grow upwards from there. And then on the second one, which is slightly smaller, I'm actually going to go vertical inside the pot, and we'll just see the difference as they get older and go from there. As a quick reminder from the previous episode, when I cracked 2 beans, one grew really tall from the beginning and the second had difficulties and was quite stunted and runted, and that has kind of carried through into how they're growing now currently in the pots. One has grown right to the edge and stretched out nicely and has really nice long stalks to deal with and easy to find the nodes and the spacing. And then the second one, which was runted, is very kind of short and twisted and weird growing inside the pot and hasn't grown to the edge yet. So I'm going to keep that one small within the pot and take it vertical, just so that the plants are the same age and growing vertically at the same time. This is how we left both of the plants at the end of the last episode. This is the smaller one and she's looking pretty good. This is the taller one. I wasn't sure whether I was going to mainline them at this point in time, but as soon as they'd reached the right height to do it, I made my mind up. This is the first day of training, so I'm going to transplant both of these ladies. One has 6 nodes and the smaller one has 5 nodes, so there is a size difference, but we're going to transplant both of these ladies into a mix of cocoa 70% and perlite 30% into 3-gallon fabric pots. These are bud trainer pots. They've got the training grommets around the rim. I'm not sure whether I'm going to need them at the moment. I will be training the ladies with galvanized garden staples, and we'll go into that a little bit later. This is the taller lady. She's got 6 nodes and she's going to be going into the pot on the left hand side. We're going to locate where her 3rd node is and see whether the 2nd or 4th node is closest to it in a minute. And then we've also got the 2nd lady and she's going to be going into the pot on the right hand side. And as you can see, she's got 5 nodes. She's a little bit smaller, but we're also going to locate the 3rd node on her and then see whether the 2nd or 4th node is closest. I like to start by making a hole with another 16-ounce cup in the cocoa. I wasn't expecting the roots to be so big here, very close to being root bound, so it was a good time to repot them. Now I'd usually use mycorrhizal inoculant here to help the roots, but I'd run out of it and I put some on order, but I'm pretty sure she's going to be okay and she's looking nice and healthy. The same with the 2nd. I was quite surprised just how big the roots had grown. I do recommend using mycorrhizal inoculant when you're transplanting these ladies. It's great for the roots to get a kick start and uptake the nutrients nice and quickly. I've had great results with it in the past. This is the tallest lady in the left hand pot. You can see that the 2nd node is closest to the 3rd node, so we're going to be topping nodes 4 and 6, and then I'm going to be using that top for cloning. So here we go, we're off to the races. That's the toughest part, just chopping it off and making that investment, but the goal is to train the lower node branches now horizontal in the pot. We just need to remove node 1 and the other branches at the bottom there, trim everything off, including the cotyledons, just to make sure that all we're dealing with is the 2 nodes and the branches growing out from there. I can see that the stalk is quite tall here, so I'm probably going to have to add extra cocoa and perlite mix to the top of this pot, just so that I can get closer to those branches for the garden staples to actually train here. I repeated the process on plant 2. Now she's a lot smaller, but also the 2nd node was closest to the 3rd node, so we're going to chop off the 4th and 5th node. Now there wasn't so much space here. It's good to leave at least a centimetre or 2 at the top here for it to dry out. But there you go. We are off to the races on both of the ladies. The tough part is over, I guess. There's no going back. So if you count down here, you can see I've got node 3 and node 2, and then below that is node 1. So we're just going to trim that off and remove the cotyledons below it as well. This is the toughest part, I guess, just kind of investing into trimming your plants. I've never really been this harsh with them before. I've done a lot of LST in the past, but trimming a plant down like this at the very beginning is actually pretty tough. I started to train the branches with these garden staples and I realized that they weren't long enough, so I ordered some longer garden staples. I added some more cocoa to plant 1 so that I could actually use the garden staples in here, and then I made sure that I ordered a good amount of 6-inch staples. So do that, guys. Make sure you've got long heavy staples. These are actually 4-inch staples and they're not big enough, and they're definitely not heavy enough as well. So I ended up using multiples of these until I could actually get my 6-inch staples in the post. It wasn't such an issue on plant 2 because her main stem was actually shorter, so she was closer to the cocoa anyway. But both of these ladies have now got nodes 2 and 3, and we've started to train both of the plants to grow horizontal. Not sure how long this is going to take or how long it's going to add to the entirety of the grow, but I should imagine it's probably going to be somewhere along 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks. With the tops, I'm going to be using this Rootek cloning gel. It's less than $5 Canadian, and I've never used rooting gel before. The last time I did a clone, I actually just plonked the cuttings in some spring water with a little bit of nutrients in there, and eventually they grew roots. We'll see if the cloning gel is more effective. I'm also going to be using these peat or cocoa pucks. They're 20 cents each. You basically just expand them in spring water. Because they're of a similar medium to what the ladies are going to be eventually growing in, I think that's going to be better in the long run than using Stonewall or Rockwool cubes. They expand in about 3 or 4 minutes. It's less than 5 minutes. I've also used these recently for cracking beans, and I found them a little bit more effective than the Stonewall and Rockwool cubes. I'll go into the reasons of that in another episode. We're going to snip the bottom of this clone shoot here at a 45-degree angle, and then we're going to dip it into the Rootek cloning gel and then immediately transplant it into the cocoa or peat pucks. 20 cents each, way cheaper than using Stonewall or Rockwool cubes. It's probably going to take 2 to 3 weeks to see if we've got any roots in these ladies, but I know that I'm going to get a ton of tops doing this mainlining, so I think it's a numbers game. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to get at least 1, 2 or 3 clones out of this. I also trimmed off the larger leaves, and now these ladies are good to go. I'm going to place them in my little seedling or germination tent with the humidity dome, and basically fingers crossed we will see in a couple of weeks. This is day 3 of training, and as you can see, I'm having to use multiple of those very light 4-inch galvanized pegs, even on the smaller lower branches. So I have already ordered the 6-inch larger staples because these 4-inch staples are too short and definitely too light. So if you're thinking of doing the same thing, guys, make sure you start with larger staples. Day 5 of training, and I can already tell that this is going to be a daily exercise of nudging things around and trimming things off. You can already see that the second nodes have started to grow on the smaller plant, and the third nodes had already started to grow on the larger plant. So everything seemed to be on track. After another trim, it's easier to count the nodes and actually see where you are. Again, I didn't really want to stress the plants out too much, but it's pretty hard to avoid, as you can see. It's a daily routine of coming in, trimming something off, slightly bending something, or persuading the plant to do something so that we can get this symmetric shape, this kind of growth that is horizontal and cross-like to the edge of the pots before we grow vertically. So after a week of training or 7 days of training, the plant has not stopped growing. The leaves just keep bouncing back and bouncing back. So it's crazy just how strong these plants are. The larger staples arrived, so it's working out much better. As you can see, the size difference is pretty big. They're wider and longer as well. So it's easier to kind of keep things down and move things around. It's time for another trim. It's just crazy how well these plants grow back. But as you can see with the larger staple here, it just gives you extra control. The extra weight and the extra length of the staples prevents the branches from doing what they want to do naturally, which is grow up towards the light. It keeps them down and growing horizontally. I wish I'd bought these from the beginning, and I probably would have bought a pack of 100 or 150. So note, guys, buy the bigger staples and more of them from the beginning. Now it's time to really neaten her up. We're going to be removing all of these old leaves and growth areas from the nodes 1 and 2 and make sure that those branches that are growing in the symmetrical cross shape are nice and clean. The only growth we really want is going to be at the end of the Y structure that we're growing, and then we're going to grow up and vertically. I'm going to remove all of these small leaves and growth kind of areas at the nodes here and really clean up these branches. So they're basically going to be pretty clean and then just a section of leaves at the very ends. I've got way more leverage using these larger pegs. I can kind of use them at different angles and then hold down over the nodes and use the actual leaves as well. So I do recommend getting bigger staples from the beginning. It's definitely going to help. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be using the training wire as we get closer to the grommets. We will see, but right now I can already feel myself getting a lot more relaxed as I see these ladies taking shape. After 10 days of training, you can see the leaves just grow back. If you trim heavily and leave the plants for about 24 to 48 hours, they grow back, bounce back no problem at all. So it's cool to see the symmetry of the plants forming as well. It was really helpful for me to draw this map out first of all that I showed you at the beginning of the video, but I think if I was to do this again, I wouldn't need the map. Now I understand how the plants grow and basically I can relax a little bit. I'm starting to enjoy it now. It's definitely taking shape as the plants start to get really kind of into this leveling out and horizontal growing. I'm starting to enjoy it more and more. And I've definitely chilled out on trimming them so much, but it is a daily check-in. Now that I've removed all of the kind of little growths there in nodes 1 and 2, and you can see that nodes 3 are nice and stapled down and nodes 4 are growing out, it's easy to see where the Y is going to form as well. After 12 days of training, plant 2, the smaller plant, is growing really twisty, but plant 1 is growing nice and straight as you can see. And we're about to top her at the 3rd node and remove the 4th node upwards from there so that we're starting to get that Y shape at the very end. So I'm about to trim off this top node here and then hopefully I'm going to leave myself enough that I can actually hold it down with a staple like this. So I've left about 1.5 centimeters, maybe 2 centimeters there. That's going to hold the tip of this node down. And as you can see, I want to grow outwards into a Y at the end there. So feeling really good about plant 1. It's crazy how much work it's taken just to get this far. And then I've got to kind of grow out and cut another 3 nodes and grow upwards again as well. So I have seen people do crazy mainlining where they've just gone capital Y after capital Y after capital Y, but already I can tell this is probably the limit I'd want to take it. I'm not sure how long this is going to take, but right now I'm thinking it's going to add 4 to 6 weeks to the grow. As you can see, plant 2 is needing some more kind of growth before I train her. I came back the following day, 14 days of training, and you can see the leaves just grow back really quickly. So you do have to come in and adjust, but already she's starting to grow vertical there. So we need to kind of staple those Y shapes down and get them going in the right direction. After good training, plant 1 is definitely showing the capital Ys, as you can see at the end there. So that's really good. She's obviously going to go right to the very rim or over the rim of the pot. On plant 2, she already has her 3rd node and beyond, but she's growing very twisty in a very kind of weird, stunted way. So I'm going to trim her up like this, but I'm going to give her way more time. Ultimately, both of the plants are going to grow vertically at the same time, so I can already tell that plant 1 is going to be right to the rim and plant 2 is going to be probably growing within the rim. But yeah, really excited now because it's starting to take shape. It's definitely worth the effort. This is 15 days of training, and yeah, it's just staples after staples after staples holding these Y-shaped growths down here. But You can already see that we've got nodes 1 there going on to nodes 2. And again, we're going to top at node 3 on each of those Y branches that are going out. It's time to trim and top plant 2. She is growing very, very twisty. They do look like very kind of different plants, but she was a runt from the beginning. But we're just going to top here. So this is obviously node 4 that we're cutting off here, and I'm going to use this for a clone as well. I ended up with a ton of clones from this exercise. Just didn't do the calculation on how many clones I was going to end up with, but they're all freebies. They're all good for me to do experiments on, whether it's going to be more mainlining or different kind of weird things. We will see, but it's good to have. This is 19 days after we topped this from plant 1, and as you can see, the roots have started to poke out the side of this cocoa or peat hook. So we're going to transplant her into a 16-ounce solo cup. We're going to be using these 16-ounce bud cups that I picked up as a 420 deal, and it's got a mix of 70% cocoa and 30% perlite in there. We're also going to remove this thin paper around the puck here so that the roots have a better chance of taking. I've also got my mycorrhizal inoculant, and we're going to be using that for transplanting here. I'm going to fill this hole and then place the cocoa puck inside, and this should help the roots take up nutrients a lot quicker. I would have used it on the larger transplant at the beginning. I just didn't think of ordering some in time, but I've had some really good results with this in the past for transplanting, so hopefully it's going to be good on the clones too. I could have waited for these roots to grow a little bit longer, but I'm pretty sure she's going to be okay. We're going to place it in here and then see how she goes in a couple of days, and then I'm probably going to trim off those dying leaves at the top. Once she gets big enough, I'm going to mainline her inside this cup, clone the top, and then see if we can just keep going around in circles of mainlining and cloning. We'll see how that works out. I baby fed her with a syringe with very light nutrients in here, like 1 ml per litre nutrients, and she was placed in the tent. As you can see, this is 19 days of training on the ladies here. Plant A has got some really fantastic Y shapes coming there, and as you can see, we're on to node 3 at the end of those Y shapes, so she's about to go vertical. Plant 2 is still a little bit stunted. The clone is also in the same tent, so we've got a lot going on in here. We're going to give plant 2 a trim and a bit of a train right now, but she's going to be going vertical at the same time as plant 1 regardless. As you can see, I'm only just starting her Y shape, and I've got the Y shape fully underway and ahead on plant 1. Let's check back in on this clone in a couple of days. Hopefully she takes well to the repotting. This is a few days later, and she'd already grown quite well, so she took well to that new space. The roots had obviously gone into the cocoa pretty quickly, and she'd got a lot more nutrients and moisture there, so she's actually grown pretty quickly. We're going to chop off these crusty, crispy leaves at the bottom here and make her look nice and fresh. Just quick trim off there. They're not necessarily unhealthy, but they did suffer a little bit while they were waiting for the stalk to grow roots, so she's looking nice and fresh. She's going to go back into the tent with the other ladies that are being trained, so stay tuned for all of this in the next coming episode. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for the next episode. Keep all of the likes, all of the comments, all the advice coming. I do appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and showing some support. Big shout out to Vivo Sun for sponsoring the channel. And also, guys, if you want to see some updates prior to my videos, which take a while to edit at times, you can also follow me on Instagram or X, and I post on there pretty much daily, several times a week, updates of my grows. So check me out there. Till next time, bye-bye.